Okay, so last question, and I thank you for this. It's just been a great conversation. I know that it will be encouraging for others to hear it and be encouraged in their parenting. Like, hey, you know, others have been on this journey and it feels messy and uncomfortable, and you often have questions, and you often reach out to others for help. Like, yes. So final question, and then if you have anything else that you'd like to say, feel free. So, but I thought, could you share what is the best way that, as a teacher, what is the best way a parent can support, can, like, I guess, encourage our children's teachers? Because one of the things you said with your oldest, you said that she had great teachers, and you could hear some of the comments that the teachers made in class. You can hear it come out, and you knew that wasn't you. And they had picked it up from school, and I thought, wow, some teachers don't realize their impact. Like, they do, but they forget because there's so much stuff going on. And I just wonder, how can we really be an encouragement to our children's teachers? Because really, the work that you all do is so important. Like you said, they spend a lot of time at school. If they go to public school, like, they're just gone, and they're in the care of other adults. How do we express our thanks? How do we encourage them? What do you feel is what's best? Speak on behalf of teachers. Let us know, how you just, I don't know. Tell me. Yeah.
No, it's a great question. And, especially you see what's going on now, and there's just so much conflict. But people go into teaching because they care about kids, and parents care about their kids. 99.99% of the time, parents want what's best for their kids, and teachers want what's best for their students. So I think the biggest thing is just knowing, like, we're on the same side. It's a partnership. And every time I meet parents, I want them to know that I care about their students, and that we're going to work together, because teenagers can be crafty and they can play one against the other. And so one of the most powerful things we can do is just let the students know that the adults are on the same side. There's none of this, kind of he said, she said, or my teacher said, but my mom said. And so just pick up the phone. We'll just get to the bottom of this, make sure we're on the same side. And that way we can move forward, and the students stop playing games or trying to get around the responsibilities. So yeah, just being on the same side, being that partnership between the home and the school, and working together. And I always try and honor what parents want, and I'm always very respectful to parents, and then I hope that I get that back, that even if the parent doesn't understand why I have a policy or why I run my classroom that way, the message should be, but that's what your teachers asked you to do, so that's what you need to do. And same thing, your parents are doing the best they can. You need to do what your parents are asking you to do. If you don't want your parents nagging you, do it before they have to tell you. I use that phrase quite a bit. My parents always tell me to do my chores. Well, you could, like, surprise them and get it done before they have to tell you. So, trying to reinforce the home and the school partnership is huge, and telling parents that they do a good job. Their kids, all kids, have great qualities, and they have something that shines in them. And then, parents can also reinforce that, your teachers are working really hard. You need to do your part and finish the lesson, or, do the homework, or study for the test, or whatever it is. So that's huge. If we can do that, then everything works perfectly. But when it's there's tension, or, one side's undermining the other, then that's the worst situation for a student, because then they think they don't have to listen to either side, and they can, try to cut corners and get around the responsibilities. But as long as the students and the teachers and the parents are all working together, then great things happen, and kids blossom, and it's really exciting. So yeah, as parents, just reinforce what the teacher's asking. Don't be afraid to call teachers and ask, what do I need to do? What's not working here? What do you see? And not be so defensive, kind of what we talked about earlier, where parents sometimes are really defensive because they want their kid to be perfect. And we have to be receptive to the fact that they're not perfect. I know my kids are not perfect. So even when I talk to my colleagues and they're like, hey, your kid is like not doing this or is doing that, you just have to be humble and say, I hear you. Thanks for letting me know. And how can we fix this? And that's huge. And then we can really help kids get past those hurdles because they're humans and they're young, very inexperienced humans that don't have the best decision-making skills. So the parents are the wise ones, right? The adults, we know better. We've got more life experience, so we can work together. And that's what we want to do. We want parents and teachers to always be on the same side, which is the side that is the best interest of the kid. We all want the same thing. So, yeah.
That's yes. Thank you for sharing those thoughts and also including the other side of it, because as you were talking at first, I was thinking, yeah, but some teachers aren't as great as you are, you know, like, and then, but as you kept talking, you pointed out, well, but you can still find the good. You can still see, and you can still find common points. You can still hold on to the hope that, or that they ultimately probably, you know, I don't really know, but we assume that they came into the field for good reasons, you know, but you can also have a community. You can also talk to them like they're people. You can make appointments. You can call. You can ask. You can express some of these thoughts to them, not to the student or to our child to make things worse. You can go directly to them and ask, hey, I'm sensing this, feeling this. I got this question. And then get to the bottom of it and clear that up, and then, you know, be united as a team, you know, and instead of stirring the pot and just making things, you know, worse. So like, how can we find a way to like get to the bottom of things and ask, how can we make things better? Or even to be open to hearing that maybe what my child is presenting when they come home is actually different than what the teacher sees when they're at school, and like what's going on, you know, who we gonna believe. Like we can have that conversation. We can get to the bottom. We can clear it up, clear the air, and then we can get back together again, reunited as a team, because we all want ultimately the best.
Absolutely. Yeah, kids are famous for saying, you know, my teacher gave me this bad grade because she does me. Right? That's kind of like, you know, why'd you get a D in math? Oh, because my teacher doesn't like me. So he just gave me that grade, which is, you know, crazy. That's ridiculous. We don't randomly give out grades. So there's assignments and tests that are attached to those grades. And it's never just, I don't like you, so I'm going to give you a bad grade. Like, so that might be how kids perceive it, and it might feel like that to them, but that's never the case. So it's really, I mean, almost, I won't say never, but almost never. That is not the case. The teachers are asking for ABC and the student is doing XYZ. Like there's a disconnect. So yeah, if the parents can just say, what does my child need to do? And then they can have that conversation with the child. Well, did you do the thing that you weren't doing? Like the teacher said to do this. Did you do that? Well, no. Okay, then. So now we know what we need to work on. So yeah, just pick up the phone or send an email in a very non-hostile and collaborative way, and good things can happen. And I know parents are busy and time is limited, and teachers are really busy and time is limited. But a quick phone call or a quick email can clear the air and get back on the right path and make the rest of the year so much easier, so that you're not having those conversations, arguments with your kids. Why do you have bad grades? They don't like me. No, I did everything. How was your day at school? No, fine, nothing. No, I don't have any homework. Why does it say you're missing homework? Oh, yeah.
You know.
Cut through all of that. Just cut through all of that, you know, and go to the source and have a 10-minute meeting. And then the kids know they can't play that game. And then usually it works really quickly. It's fine. So it's kind of heartbreaking when you see reports on the news. You know, of course, I see and I watch news from all the states, and I have students that come from all the states because that's how military schools work. I have students directly coming from many different states. So it's sort of a cross section of America. So I think kids are kids everywhere. and parents are working really hard everywhere, and teachers work really hard. So there's really, it makes me really sad when I see how hostile it can be in a lot of places and how upset people are.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on. There's a lot of problems in the world today. But for what we can control, what we have influence over, we can make it better. We can help that kid, and we can help in that situation, and we can have a huge influence in our local community. And so those are the things that we can focus on. We can do good things, and we can work together, and then everything is okay.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, assume the best of the teacher, and that you have an ally here, both parent and teacher working together for the best for the child, for our child, and the student, like they're not an enemy, they are trying to work to do the best for your child with what they have.
Message for the teenager to hear that message that I've got all these adults that are rallying around me. So I guess I'm going to be successful because they all say I'm going to be. So that's such a powerful message for students to hear. Yeah. Not getting stuck in a war zone and blame on both sides and all that, but just, all these adults are rooting for me, and they're all working together for me. So as a student, I think that can really build them up, and then they can be their best, which might not be perfect, might not even be mediocre, but they're going to be able to do their best at that time.
That's certainly a shift in perspective of how, as a parent, I would look at teachers sending my kids to school, understanding that they're going to school to be taught by a group of adults we are all together, working together in our own spheres, as best as we can for the behalf of the child, our future, to groom them and to help them. That's a different way of looking at it, because there are other ways of looking at it that doesn't help anybody, really. It just makes it worse for everyone, and no one wants to do anything, So I like that alternative way of looking at the situation and addressing the situation from a positive, hopeful mindset of, hey, we're all in this together for the benefit of our future generations, like your future, the child's future.
Just like you said, they're the future. So we're all going to be retired, and the world will be in their hands. So we really should prepare them. We should get them ready, and we should make sure that they are confident, well-adjusted, educated, and kind young people. And we can do that. And again, I fully believe parents want what's best for their kids, and they're doing the best they can. And I believe that's true. After 20 years in teaching, I think that's true of nearly every person I've ever worked with. They're doing the best they can, and they want what's best for kids. So I would say that's true I counted at one time, I think I'm somewhere around 1,300 students maybe I've had over my career, 1,200, 300, something like that, well over 1,000 students. And yeah, I would say 99.99% of parents are doing the best they can, and they want what's best for their kids, even if they're not, the trophy winning best parent. None of us are. We make mistakes, it's messy, but we're doing the best we can, and we care about our kids. And same thing for teachers. We're not perfect. We definitely make mistakes, but we're in it for the kids, and we want them to do well and be successful. So we're all really going for the same goal. We're on the same team for sure.
I know I said I was going to end, but I just got to say, I guess I like teachers because I understand that they're people, and but I guess somewhere in me, which I didn't realize until this conversation, that I think I started to not trust some teachers. And because sometimes when kids come home and they say they did this or that or this and that, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? They're just like, what are you doing? Just like, what? So, but hearing you just repeatedly over and over, like, we're on the same team. Like, this is, we want what's best for your child. And maybe there needs to be a conversation between parent and teacher. Maybe what they're expressing is not full reality of what's actually going on in the classroom. You know, maybe the teacher has a different perspective that looks different than what they're painting when they come home. And so maybe that's not all there is. And so that's what I realize now in having this conversation. Like, I guess I had a little mistrust of, like, what are they doing all day long? Like, I don't know, you know, but as you're saying, like, no, really, teachers want the best for their students. And of course, I want the best for my child. And I just hearing you say that over and over is like, is so positive. It's so good for me to hear a teacher express this, because we don't really interact with the teachers. I feel like they're super busy, and so I don't want to bother them that much unless there's some issue. But like hearing you say this and hearing your perspective and hearing how teachers are important from your perspective as both teacher and parent, and understanding how we can work together and how we can support one another. It's like, oh, I guess I forgot that along the way. And I want to, like, teachers aren't all bad. Like, look at this, like, you're a great model of, like, hey, so because a part of me was thinking, no, that's just you are a good teacher, but the other ones, I don't know. But no, I don't actually. If I think about it, there have been some stellar teachers in my kids' lives, but maybe there's even more. I just didn't really interact with them. I don't, you know, it's just like, wow. So thank you, just like expressing that. So maybe as a parent, if parents watch this and they see, wow, you know, what is our relationship with our children's, like, what am I thinking about the teachers that they have? You know, am I thinking that they're the reason why my kids aren't as smart as, you know, or whatever, you know, like, am I thinking that, or like, what's going on? So just something to think about, and to wonder, you know, am I being supportive of what the teachers are trying to do? And are we indeed working together to, you know, motivate our kids or students to like move forward in life, like how we all want.
Something else to sort of add to that, you know, like as a teacher, I could say, oh, that parent should be doing this with their child. But like, I don't know what else is going on in the home. And the same thing is true for the classroom. Like, as a parent, you might say, like, my child needs this, but there are 20 or 30 other students in that classroom and other things going on, and mandates and requirements and budgets. And, you know, there's so many things going on. So I think as a parent, you just have to trust that the teacher really is doing the best they can, but it's a whole complicated thing that no one outside of that room can understand. And then the same thing with, you know, your family. We could say, oh, parents should read with their children an hour, but as a single parent, like, that wasn't always a reality. And so there's all kinds of things going on inside the home that no one else can understand because it's unique to your family. And every classroom is unique. And so there just has to be trust in that relationship, that the teacher's doing everything that he or she can for every single student in that room. And not every teacher connects with, like, rainbows and sunshine with every single student. And again, if you've had multiple kids, you know, they could have the same teacher and one will love that teacher and the other one will be like, meh. So, you know, that happens too. You know, there are different personalities, and sometimes kids, you know, there are kids that I've connected with that think I'm the best. And then there's other kids that probably don't even remember me or are just like, she was annoying, you know? So there's the whole range, and we're all just people. And so a classroom is just that. It's a lot of personalities. And a lot of times kids will love a subject and think that that's the teacher. Like, the kids that love me are the kids that love reading when they come into my room. So they can give me credit for that, but they enjoy the books that we read because they like reading. The kids that struggle with reading or struggle with writing, it's a lot harder to make that connection with them because I represent the thing that they don't like. So, you know, they always love the art teacher when they're artists, or they love the band teacher when they play music. You know, everyone loves the PE teacher except the kid that hates sports. They don't like the PE teacher. So yeah, we just have to remember that our kids experience different classrooms, different subjects, different environments very uniquely. And so that's not necessarily who that teacher is. It was that child's experience in that particular class. And my second period class might get along and have a little family vibe going on. And third period, they don't like each other and they don't like me and they're grumpy because they want to go to lunch. And so like, there's just so many factors. And so there, as a parent, you just have to trust that the teacher is doing what they can. And as a teacher, we trust that parents are doing what they can.
Wow. Yes.
But the reality is nothing's perfect. It's not going to be perfect anywhere, but we're going to all just do what we can. And kids, our teenagers are going to do what they can, but they're not perfect either. And so you just all have to sort of trust and give a lot of grace and a lot of encouragement and keep pushing forward. We just keep moving forward every day.
Yeah, that's great. And that's a great wrap up to this whole thing. And that's what I really appreciate about you. You named the different perspective of the parent, perspective of the teacher, perspective of the students / child, and saying how it really all matters. And like even what their feelings are about the subject affects what's happening here, and the fact that you named all those things helps me to trust that, okay, teachers are aware of what's going on here, like they're not oblivious to like life happening. And so, oh, okay, that helps me to trust you as a teacher and other teachers, like, oh, okay, I guess, they're aware of what's happening. And so
we're real people and we have kids and our kids get in trouble at school too. And, we're all just people, but we're real people. And yeah, you can definitely call or reach out and ask what's going on, because parents are always their best advocate for their student. That is your number one job as a parent, is to be in your kid's corner. But the enemy is not the teacher. The enemy is like the problem, whatever the problem is. And so we can work together on that problem. But we definitely want parents to advocate for their kids, to be that voice for their kids, to support them. But we're an ally and we're on the same team. And we know it's hard. And we're not going to say, oh, you should have done this as a parent. Like, I've never heard a teacher ever say that.
And just to bring it back to the beginning of our conversation, yes, we are children's ally, but we don't solve all their problems for them. We can make sure that we're not grooming, but like raising them, preparing them for the future by not doing, especially when they're teens. Like that's what we're initially was talking about, parents of teenagers who are, the next step is living life on your own, so how do we best prepare them for that? Yes, we are definitely their ally, but we're also coaching, leading, mentoring, teaching, role playing, modeling, like all of these things to try and help them to learn how to be their advocate, but we're like behind them, rooting for them, encouraging them, pointing out ideas, supporting them. Absolutely. We're definitely behind them as things maybe don't work out, then we're there, or we step in when necessary, but we're definitely allowing them space to sort of move ahead, like versus us doing everything. Now it's sort of shifted where, now you're doing more, but I'm coaching you and helping, leading, guiding, because ultimately we want you to be a successful, healthy, well-rounded adult, functioning person, So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think coaching is a great word for it, because the kids are on the field. The coach has got to wait in the dugout. We can prepare them, but I think that's a really great way to look at it. Is we're coaching. We're not in the game. It's not our game. We didn't win or lose the game. We're just coaching, and the kids are gonna do the best that they can.
And we can be the bad coach that grunt like, you should have did blah 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 blah, and make it horrible for them that they don't want to do it anymore, or they're so sad, I gotta do it right, because I don't want to let my coach, I'm doing, so we think, what kind of coach are we? Are we going to be the supportive, encouraging coach that helps them to love the game and just love what they're doing, and maybe even discover that they're good at some things that they didn't really think that they were good at? Or are we going to be a different kind of coach that's like a traumatic experience? So
yeah, we don't want kids to hate the game. We want them to be happy. We want them to be excited about life and becoming adults and their dream jobs and whatever they're going to do in the future. So yeah, we want to be as positive as possible and encouraging and even the bad news bears, right? They always have something they did right. You make a play, you might have lost the game, but you made a play, or you did the thing, you got the hit, so yeah, focusing on the positive, because kids do a lot of things wrong. They really do. And we do a lot of things wrong. We drop the ball, we make mistakes all the time. But there's always something good that we can build on. So yeah, if anyone's ever coached, I use sports as the analogy for life all the time. But it's the same thing, no matter where you're at, you start building the skills, building the foundation, the fundamentals, and then you have fun.
You let them play.
Yeah, you let them play. They don't always win, but you got to let them play, and that's how they get better, and that's how they learn, and that's how they grow. So yeah, I think kids are great. I love being around kids. I love talking to teenagers. They're incredibly insightful. Particularly this generation is very aware of what's going on in the world.
And they want to see change. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so encouraged by what I see, the compassion that I see in kids, their awareness of social injustice, their inclusion of people who are different. I'm just really encouraged by kids, and they're clever. They make bad choices sometimes, but they're very smart and they're very clever, and they're passionate, I think, and I'm excited for this next generation. I really am. So I hope parents are excited too, because they're raising really cool little people, and they're going to be really cool adults when they're ready. They're not ready yet. They're not done yet. I tell that to my spouse now with our teenagers. I'm like, if they were allowed to live on their own, we'd let them, but it's illegal because they're not ready yet, because we know they can't make good choices. That's why we can't kick them out. So we know they're not done yet, but they're going to be great. And I know that, and I want kids to know that, like, when you get there, you're going to be so ready for it. Because we're going to help get them ready. When it comes to the championship game, like, they're going to be ready, even though it might be the first day of the season right now. We know that. So yeah, you got to keep perspective. And at the end of the day, most things really don't matter that much. That particular math test, it doesn't actually matter. It matters that we're building our kids. Wherever they're at, we just build them to the next step. So that's what I try and do with my students. No matter if they're the best reader in the world or the most struggling reader in the classroom, we just want to build them to the next step, whatever the next step is. And so parents are great because they know their kids better than anybody. Mm-hmm. You don't have to know them perfectly, but you still know them better than anybody as a parent. And so parents are so valuable when it comes to education and working with teenagers, because they've been there for the whole ride. They know that student better than anybody else. So parents are a great advocate, and a great partner, and yeah, and then all the other adults are on the team. You've got youth group pastors and coaches and scout leaders. There's a lot of adults that do kind of pour into our children, and I'm so thankful for all the people. Like, I can't take credit for all the things that my kids are doing, because I know I was not there for a lot of that. They had great teachers, they had great coaches, they had great pastors, they had scout leaders, they had all these people. They had grandparents and extended family and neighbors, and the military community, friends that are like family. So they have all these people that pour into them. And so I'm thankful for that. And I think we also, as a society, have to be really careful what we say about kids. And I think that was one thing I did want to mention. When we post things online and we talk about kids these days, it's not just an adult conversation that you might have had over coffee. Like, it's now publicly on the internet and on social media. And so kids see it and they really take it to heart. So we have to be really careful when we talk about, millennials or kids, or, anything like that, memes, because when grandma posts a meme that's negative toward, millennials, they see that, they see what people say about them. So we have to be really mindful and make sure that we're being encouraging to them and talking positively about them, because they're listening and they hear us. They might not tell us at the time, but they hear us and they're listening.
Yeah. That's a good word in warning, to take note of what we're doing.
Yeah. But they're cool. Kids are cool. Don't be afraid of teenagers. They're just, it's been my favorite phase of parenting. they're a really fun age group.
Mm. Yeah.
Better than top for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you for your time today and sharing your experience as both teacher for over 21 years and as mom, you know, and as you were naming all the different positive role models that were in your children's lives growing up, I just want to emphasize that they have a wonderful mother, you know, one who listens and encourages them. And I know like all the things you named sounded real positive, like everything's going right in your life and like look at all the, but I know like that, you know, you're choosing to remember the good that has happened, but that does not mean that there was only good happening.
Absolutely.
You know, there were difficulties in your life, and yet you still remain positive and hopeful and encouraging and still willing to share, you know, with others your experiences because you're going through it. You recognize that others are just trying the best they can and just like you offer that. And that is beautiful. And so I just want to point out, like, you are definitely, your mom was right when she said you were chosen to be their parent. Like that's true. And not only have you blessed those two, but so many others and me today by meeting and sharing thoughts with me. And sometimes over social media over the years, you know, at key times. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And I'm so happy to share what I've learned through trial and error. And I hope it can help other people kind of, you know, pay it forward. And I think we all have an individual journey and things we've learned along the way. And so, yeah, I hope people are willing to share because I think we all know things and we've learned things, and you have incredible wisdom that you share as well. So I'm so glad to see you in a role where you have a platform to share that. So I'm really excited to see your journey and see all the things you're doing as well.
Thanks, Stacy.